Hello, guys. Well, today we'll talk about something very good, something that I consider the best thing after the video games, which is the music. So I've dedicated my life to write about some things that I like so much, like for example, the philosophy behind video games, behind conversation, behind jokes, insults, and of course, behind music, right? And I've written this paper here called Art and Language. Is music a simple metaphor or not an alternative way of speaking? This is very interesting to ask because a lot of people think that language can be translated to a lot of types of meaning. Like for example, I can speak with gestures, with music, with a blink of an eye. But can I use music to convey information too? But I'm not talking about the music that you use lyrics to speak something. I'm talking about the very instrumentalization. Can they speak something to you? Let's take a look at this. So uh, let's read the abstract. Music, along with painting, literature, and architecture, is considered one of the fine arts, which means that it is to be appreciated primarily or even solely by means of their imaginative, aesthetic, or intellectual content. Mainly in Western music, we can see an ensemble of musicians in an orchestra performing an artistic miracle of playing together the same piece, each one with their respective instruments with almost no flaws whatsoever. However, we might ask ourselves, are they really flawless, as we say about a correct result of a mathematical equation? Like, can we say that those musicians are really perfect? And don't they make mistakes? Let's take a look. And or are they really following a strictly precise rule that allow them to prove all the steps to a same exact true performance? So we start to ask ourselves, uh, is the music phenomenon that we see like physically? Is the music the musical score? Is the like Beethoven ninth the first performance of this piece? Or is the best one, and who decides which one is the best one, right? And about its expressive capacities, can music convey actual fixed concepts as do words, paragraphs, or entire books? On this paper, we are going to analyze how far music theory is able to determine accurateness in a musical score regarding reading for a performance and the aesthetic effects in a hearer, highlighting the conceptual problems behind numbers and linguistic reference, and how music is actually much more similar to the cognitive social linguistic phenomenon of the pragmatics of a language than to an exact science. So this is the problem. People think that music is perfect and can be compared to mathematics. Well, actually, they have to know that not even mathematics is actually exact. So if we were using mathematics uh, to make the foundations of the music theory. Music theory itself would have problems with this. So let's take a look. It's easy to like music. Since our childhood, we are exposed to the melodic and harmonic phenomenon of music. Be that because we felt attracted to that organized, addictive, and pleasant patterns, or because our parents didn't want to waste too much time with us, unknowing children, and simply put us to be distracted by something loud, cheerful, and singable. Yeah, I don't think that my parents have had the opportunity to use music to distract me like we have nowadays. The parents just put the children to listen to some music on YouTube and that's it. You are raising a child. Of course, this is not the ideal performance as a parent, right? It's easy as well to see that we are always relying on metaphors when we try to describe what the effects of hearing music are on us. So metaphors are important to define what I'm feeling when I hear music. What is this? Is this kind of harsh? Is this sad? Is this happy? Melancholic, depressing? One thing is certain, these metaphors are not by chance. They are not just the best resource to describe music, at least for a non initiated person in music theory, but they are actually the only linguistic way of doing so, because theory, scientifically speaking, is much more concerned with on stating how things work in order to promote or to predict the repetition of an event. No? So theory is about this, right? It's a system of rules that try to predict a natural phenomenon. But have we created music only to try to repeat or predict it? So, yeah. Does this make sense? Like, have we created music theory to try to predict the songs? Is this even useful for our survival dynamics? Like we think that physics and chemistry are useful. Well, I don't know, but one thing is is certain: we have created music for amusement. So we want to know how to reproduce it and make it again because we want to feel amused again. Is music even useful for our primary needs like eating and housing, as geometry and biology are for measuring terrains, capacities in our blood taxes? It seems that we haven't had to formulate or use music in the first place, unless we start to consider that the phenomenon of art is something intrinsic to the human evolution. Mainly when we consider that language is what characterizes the most. So language would be the main thing that characterizes the human being compared to the other animals. Although we know that there are some people that think that this is not exactly what distinguishes from the animals, right? So on this paper, we are going to occupy ourselves answering primarily the following questions. Is music as a type of art just an alternative way of speaking, a prettier way of speaking? So this is already is something very and very grave to say, very hard and incisive. We would say like, is music just another way of speaking? Like, I'm speaking beautifully instead of speaking too much information. So I sacrifice information to provide more aesthetic experience to the things that I want to say. If so, can we determine a semantics, syntax, and pragmatics of it? Do we use metaphors to say that a piece of music is or expresses adjectives as cheerful, sad, melancholic, exciting, depressive, strong, empty, spatial, etc.? Because music is merely an imitation of language, or they both are tools of the same primitive purpose of communication. So music would be just an imitation of language. The second factor is important because if music is a language, you would have to have semantics, syntax, and pragmatics, the three main dimensions of language. 4. Related to the question 2, can we develop a grammar in a dictionary of music? If it is a language, then we could have a dictionary for how to express ourselves with music. In general, regarding the preciseness of how people speaking the same language don't have any significant problems whatsoever to communicate, how can we compare the tools of arithmetics and exact science to the rules of grammar? So, if music is that perfect, like people say, can we compare this with arithmetics and have really precise rules? Actually, not even mathematics, not even music can have them. And we'll see what I'm talking about. And finally, is music writing and reading and performing as accurate as it seems to be, considering the fact that it uses a lot of notions from geometry, mathematics, and physics? So, can we really compare music to the exact sciences? And are the exact sciences really exact? No? It is clear, therefore, that we are going to feast on debates concerning philosophy of language, art, and science, not necessarily in this particular order. problems of linguistic reference. So Bertrand Russell, Saul Kripke, and Peter Strawson, the people who were discussing about the problems of reference, about whether I can substitute a proper name with a definite description or not, no? As well as contextual aspects of pragmatics. John Searle, Daniel Verdewagen will be noted in that first branch mentioned above. For the second branch, specifically the philosophy of music, is going to take part Derek Cook, Peter Kiv. And for the last, we will deal with the science behind the music theory. So there is a science behind the music theory. And philosophical problems concerning science in general. Karl Popper. Our objective is to answer the 6 questions above based on a critical analysis of these authors' works. So we have here a philosophy for music theory. In order to state some fundamental problems behind the music theory, let's remind us or learn some principles of music understanding. We won't occupy the reader with a list of tiresome definitions like we see in music theory books, but with the rise of several debates concerning some of them. First, because this is a philosophical work, and second, because the core of these definitions are in check here. So our doubt about the foundations of music theory itself, because they have made some assumptions that don't make sense, and I've noticed this since the beginning when I've had contact with for the first time with the music theory. I've seen that there was a problem within it, and now I have the tools to make this argument in a philosophical way. So when we start to doubt some fundamental things, the rest of them, which are dependent on the foundations, might fall. So it's much better for you to attack the root, and all the things that are related to this root will be finished. So we will admit also that the reader has some familiarity with music theory. So if you are here, it's because you are interested in music theory and philosophy, and you probably know about some music theory before, but I will state some very basic ideas about music theory too. Music is a temporal art that organizes sounds waves in a specific and pleasant way for the human ear. We are going to deal here mainly with pure music. Pure music, just plain music. The music unaccompanied by text, title, subject, program, or plot. The words music alone. Oh, music, instrumental music. Of course, that you can use voice to make chorals, but without any lyrics, because we are going to analyze the music information using the instruments only. You will see that the metaphors, the things that are that look like to these musical performances, it will inform us the meaning of these things. So, like for example, a slow paced music would mean that probably you are trying to convey a sad person or a depressive person, because people like this behave like this, like they move slowly. Basically, it is divided in melody, sequence of notes, pitches, harmony, how these pitches relate to proportionally at the same time, and for many authors, counterpoint. Nothing more than the melodic and harmonic relationship of musical lines. It doesn't actually seem to be something new. But what are those things in these definitions exactly? In order to organize their conceptual differences, it was necessary to formulate a bunch of symbols that characterize the notation for music writing and reading, which of course has suffered several changes during history. Let's take a look at them. So let's finish this first class for today. We are in the 5th page. We have 21 pages to go, taking out the reference. But this is just the beginning for us to take care of this philosophy behind music and see what kind of mysteries are behind this way of art that we like so much. Mainly for me, because I really like instrumental music. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to like and share this video. and see you next time.